Welcome in here. We're live from McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. This is our final show here at McCoy, and as you can notice, things look a little bit differently in terms of the camera setup here. It is a wide frame.
Yeah, it is. And
you can see stuff.
And you know how they say when you gain 15 pounds when you go on camera? Yeah.
I think I might have gained 150 pounds right there. Just added 0 to that 15. I look big today. But want to know what else looks big today?
What?
Evan's anger. Evan has not been a happy boy today. What is going on today, Evan?
It's just been a long day. I'm running on fumes right now. Let's just leave it at that.
Evan won't talk about it. We can talk about that at a later time and a later date. But yeah, Evan's not had a good day. But
I'm very hungry right now.
I've had a great day. A lot of developments here. But we're going to talk about the Pawtucket Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox. But first, I'd like to thank the Pawtucket Red Sox for welcoming in Trifecta this season. You know, we've had a really fun time, and we've been allowed to do stuff like this, which is awesome. We've been all around the ballpark. We've never been in this location, but we've been legitimately in like almost every spot of this ballpark.
Yeah,
for the show.
Yeah, pretty much. We've done it all around the ballpark. We've had some pretty fun times here.
We've had umbrella attacks.
Yeah. The first full game that Trifecta officially covered here full time was the David Price game where he went off in his zombie apocalypse mobile, and since then it's been all fun.
Been a lot of fun here. So we're gonna kick things off. Like, share, make sure to like us on Facebook, and give us some feedback, because we do like doing this Red Sox show. But going forward, we're gonna be doing Trifecta Sports Talk, which is all the Boston sports teams, and we'll continue to do Red Sox talk over there, Evan and I. But we have a Boston Bruins show. It's called the 7th Floor Show. It'll be launching in the next couple weeks. Expect it definitely to be on training camp open for the Boston Bruins, but there might be a test show next week where we share it to Bruins fans to see what they think. So we're going to talk September call-ups, and that's a very big time right now and a big conversation, because for the Pawtucket Red Sox, this is their last home series of the year, and they finish up on Labor Day for their season, and they're not making the playoffs. So Boston will be looking down here to Pawtucket for call-ups, and there's a lot of controversy here. The one guy that I'm talking about, and I have been talking about all season long, is Bryce Brent. This guy has 30 home runs for the Pawtucket Red Sox this season. He's just something else. You know, he is a power hitter. He is the best power hitter in the Boston Red Sox organization as a whole. You could say he's a 4A player. You could say he's had an opportunity at the major league level, which he has. 2015 and 2016, 87 at-bats, 287 batting average, 1 home run, 9 RBIs. Bryce Brent is a guy I would call up in September. The issue with Brent is he's not on the 40-man. But we can get to that later, because that 40-man is whack.
Yeah, you could say that again. But yeah, getting back to Brent, he since the middle of May, he has, I believe it's 28 of his 30 home runs. He got off to a really bad start.
And you know what? That's an interesting note that you bring up. Bryce Brent had a very bad start to this year. In fact, he was losing opportunities. He was no longer getting in the lineup. And you want to know what he used as inspiration?
What's that?
Barry Bonds. Brent was a big Barry Bonds fan growing up, and he looked at Barry Bonds in that swing, and he's kind of used that as inspiration. You know, he made a couple changes mechanically, and Brent has really taken off this year. You know, he's 28 years old. He's a free agent at the end of this year. He's going to get a major league opportunity. If not from the Boston Red Sox, it'll be from a team. I certainly believe it. No, he has the power. The question is, does he have the everyday fielding capability in left and right field? I'm not so sure, but I've been seeing him taking some grounders over at first base here at McCoy, and he's looking like he's making the effort to at least sell himself in the field. Yeah,
any way you want to look at it, Bryce Brent has power. And since in the middle of May, when he introduced the toe tap into his batting stance,
yes,
he has been able to crush the ball. Right now, we are about 400 feet from home plate. On the regular, he's hitting him out here. The other night, he hit a home run on. It was here on Wednesday night, I believe. He hit it 459 feet. It was 109 miles off the bat.
And he said post-game, that was the part of this. He's hit a ball, for the purest he's hit a ball since he was down in Greenville.
Yeah.
And he's 28 now.
So it's been a while. The guy's got power. The guy can hit. He will get it if he doesn't get a chance with the Red Sox, he will get a chance somewhere else. Worst case as a designated hitter. So it's only a matter of time.
Right. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Brent. You know, I really think he's put in all the effort, and he deserves an opportunity here. And if you looked at this roster in Boston, and you're like, why isn't Brent getting a shot? You know, I seriously question that. Because lost Jackie Bradley Jr. to an injury, 10-day DL for him. And then they traded for Rajai Davis. And Dave Dombrowski post-trade, right? He admitted that Jackie Bradley injury kind of forced his hand, made him make the move quicker than he would. And for that, that is not good. That's not good. And so they did that. Now Mookie Betts has this injury as well, where Betts isn't going to get an MRI. That's what John Farrell said. There's no MRI needed, but it's on the same knee. He had surgery last season. So I look at Mookie Betts, and I want him on the DL. We'll talk about that more later, but there is room for Bryce Brentz on this roster. You look at the 40-man. You have a guy like Kyle Martin on the 40-man roster right now. They moved Steve Selsky off, so it's not really worrying about that there. But Josh Rutledge is still on the 40-man roster, I believe. So you got a couple options there where you can move Bryce Brentz onto that 40-man.
I mean, at that point, if you're taking you could put Josh Rutledge on the 60-day DL, and then you're all set with him. But if you were to designate Josh Rutledge for assignment, he's going back to the Colorado Rockies. So if you're David Dombrowski, do you want to get rid of a player like that? And
right.
I don't think that's going to end up being the case. So the only thing I would imagine that the Red Sox would do with Josh Rutledge is put him on the 60-day DL. So
he's on the 60-day.
He is on the 60-day.
Rutledge is on the 60-day right now. Yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing you can do.
Right, with him you can't.
No, there's nothing you can do with him.
Bryce Brentz should be on this team. There's other players that you can look at and say, well, are they going to call him up? And if you look at the bullpen, you kind of have your answer already staring you at the face. Carson Smith. Carson Smith is going to be called up by the Boston Red Sox this season. John Farrell talked about it a couple weeks ago that they're going to let him play out this AAA season in Pawtucket. And once that's done, Smith is going to be back in Boston, and he will be that call-up for them in September. There might be another option here. Austin Maddox is a guy I look at that could be a call-up for them as well. But it's going to be Carson Smith. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, and Carson Smith has gotten on to the throwing every other day program. When they first started his rehab stint, they were pitching him every third day, so 2 days between each appearance. Now that he's on every other day, it gives him that chance to build up more arm strength and be able to pitch on a more consistent basis. So tonight he should be pitching tonight. He last pitched on Wednesday, so tonight he probably should be on the mound. So it'll be interesting to see how he pitches. The other night he was throwing his fastball was consistently at 92, and he was able to he was able to get a strikeout on that nasty slider of his.
Yeah, you can check out that video of Carson Smith. It's in its entirety. Actually, on our Facebook page, Trifecta Sports, go to our video section, and you will find his entire outing and a couple outings you've actually seen him this year. So with Carson Smith, I think he looks closer. He's almost at the point where I'd consider bringing him up earlier if you needed him, but there's no point to do that. You want to see if he can go every day, and we'll see him tonight in Pawtucket, or hopefully see him tonight in Pawtucket. Talking about utility infielders and the potential to bring one up, you have Devin Marrero and Swasby Lynn, who are both here in Pawtucket. Both have different kind of upsides. Marrero is a better defender. Lynn's a better utility player, can play a couple more positions than Marrero. We'll see what happens with that. If it was me, I'd probably pick Marrero. I like that defensive upgrade. I think for Lynn, he does add a little bit different in terms of more better plate appearance. But I like Marrero. I like using that defensive upgrade there.
Yeah, in reality, in getting into September, later in the game, you're going to want that defensive upgrade. And between the two, like you said, Marrero is the better defender, so it only makes sense to play him. The only thing that I think might give Lynn an advantage over Marrero is how many positions can he play?
Lynn?
Yeah.
You can play like every position. You can play center field, left field, right field, shortstop, second base, third base. I think that's all.
And as we all know, John Farrell lust over those utility men. So it only makes sense for Lynn to be called up over Devin Marrero.
And that's why he should love Bryce Brentz. Because Bryce Brentz can play left field, right field, and he's trying out at first base. And he can DH. Hanley Ramirez has not been a very good player for you this year for the Boston Red Sox.
No, he hasn't.
No. Bryce Brentz can do the same thing. Bench Hanley, bring up Bryce, and let's see what we got. Go Bryce Brentz. So the Red Sox probably need a third catcher, right? Blake Swihart's actually on the 40-man right now. I wasn't positive, and then I looked it up yesterday. Blake Swihart's on the 40-man. If he can play catcher, he can play first base for you. He can't catch often, maybe once a week. And maybe that's all you need. He has the bat, but it hasn't been good this year with the bat. I think it's that injury's really been nagging him down there. So Swihart's on the 40-man. Will they move someone to bring up a Dan Butler? I don't know. I'm more in favor of bringing up Swihart just because With the third catcher, you only need him to catch once a week, maybe that. And he has that bat, which we're not sure if we're going to see this year, but we know it's in there somewhere. With Dan Butler, he's not going to really help you much in terms of a pinch hitter kind of situation. He can catch, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Butler has that occasional power, but that's really about it. The better player is Blake Swihart. Now, like you said, how often are you going to be able to play him?
You can play first base, too, which provides you some depth. Granted, Sam Travis might be your first base call-up, but you have a couple interesting options at first base. You know, Swihart can fit two roles for you. He can play first, and he can also be your catcher.
Yeah, I was saying that Swihart, he does look like he will be able to play first base. He's able to make the throws. He's be able to cover the position. The one problem he has, he just doesn't have enough experience there.
At first base? No.
At first base. And it worries me to be able to play him at first base at the major league level right now, because it just feels like he's going to be able to make that error that blows up the game. It happened here on Monday night. He had an error in the ninth inning. The game was tied. He had there was the throw from Jansen Wheat that he wasn't able to pick out of the dirt. Now, granted, because it was a bad throw by Wheat, but he still should be able to pick out the throw, and the error was charged to Swihart. Two batters later, I could be wrong on this, but I believe it was Danny Jansen, the catcher for the Buffalo Bisons, hit a 3-run shot.
Yep.
So after that, you ended up losing the game 6-3. They were leading 3-2 going into the ninth inning.
If you're wondering what that was, that was two morons driving by on this power jack. They were standing and riding it. I was kind of hoping they were going to tip. I wish I had that on camera. That would have been pretty funny.
It would have been Trifecta News.
That would have been fantastic. They
Trifecta News, baby.
Right there. Oh, man. That would have been hilarious because they were riding it like morons.
We'd be on that like CNN.
Yeah, right? It's a little windy here, too.
It is.
Everything kind of swinging around. Moving on from September call-ups, I think we've kind of established we don't really know what's going to happen. No? Just some opinions on it and what we've seen here in Pawtucket and what Boston can use on their roster up there. I do think it should be Bryce Brent's. Every 13.73 at-bats, the guys hit a home run. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable right there.
Especially considering how bad he was in April.
So, you know, AAA is the gateway to Boston. We've had over 70 transactions here in Pawtucket since the All-Star break, since the All-Star deadline, trade deadline, July 31st.
There's been over 70?
Over 70.
I thought it was the All-Star break.
Over 70 since July 31st. That's incredible. So this is the gateway to the majors. We all know that. AAA Pawtucket. A lot of guys have come through here. You know, Rafael Devers, Mookie Betts, Dustin Pedroia, Andrew Benintendi skipped here. So there's a couple that have skipped, but it's not likely. If you're going to go to Boston, you got to come through Pawtucket, and we're going to go through their roster and tell you where we think some players have developed and who you could see in Boston, not this season, but next season. So starting off, we're going to start off with the hitters. Bogusevic, Brian Bogusevic, he has major league experience. 33 years old, Bogusevic. You know, if you ever come to Pawtucket or at least seen him take BP, he does not go opposite field. He goes right in his power zone every time. He's right down that right field line every time. But he can hit it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at the guy. The guy's like, what is he listed at? He's over at like 6'2", right?
He's 6'3", Bogusevic.
6'3". And how much does he weigh?
210 pounds.
210?
Yep.
That's probably 208 pounds of muscle.
Look, Bogusevic, he's 33 years old. He has major league experience. He played with Houston. He played with Chicago, and he played with Philly last in 2015. He has over major league, like 1 year of major league experience cumulatively. 33 years old, 4A player. But I like Bogusevic.
I do too. He can hit the ball, and he hit it far.
But in terms of Boston, I just don't envision that happening. Bryce Brent is the next one on the list. You already know our thoughts on him. Brent is a free agent at the end of this year. I don't think you're going to see him. If he calls up to Boston, that's when you'll see him this year. But he's gone. I think Bryce Brent is gone. You know, I think he likes the organization. He wants to be here. But I just don't see him getting a major league opportunity here next year.
I don't either.
Moving on, Dan Butler, the catcher. This is another one of those older veterans down here. I like Dan Butler. I like him as catching depth in your organization, but he's not going to be a major league catcher for you.
No. In fact, I didn't even know until earlier this week. He actually did have experience at up in Boston back in 2014. I believe he only played like one game or something like that. It wasn't
he has
much.
had a call up. Yep.
He has had a call up to Boston, but down here, I mean, he's got a good arm. He's able to call a game well. But other than that, it's like he can't hit, and I don't see him being able to contribute to the Red Sox roster.
So moving on, talking about Rusney Castillo, I looked up the contract status. For some reason, I thought Rusney was a free agent after next year. No, he's under contract for 2 more years, and then he has a 3rd year, which is a player option. This is a guy they signed out of Cuba. This helped them sign Yoan Moncada. So if you talk about, Rusney, this outfielder, he's been injured a lot this year for Pawtucket. But when he's been out here, he's been very, very good.
He actually looks like
an all-star.
He looks like he could play Major League Baseball.
He can. 260 batting average at the Major League level. Just not in Boston. The road to the Boston outfield is blocked right now. Could you improve over Jackie Bradley? You could on offense. Defensively, no. Mookie Betts, I would actually move on from Mookie Betts if I found a trade partner. Because I actually, this season's really kind of killed my opinion of Mookie. He has the MVP capability, but am I picking Giancarlo Stanton or am I picking Mookie Betts? I'm picking Stanton. But the road to Boston's blocked for Rusney Castillo. I don't think you're going to find a trade partner for Rusney unless someone's really desperate next year. We'll see what happens, but you might see him up there if something goes down. If there's some kind of injury or some kind of massive trade. Moving on, yeah. Ryan Court, play infield and outfield for him. I like Ryan Court. I like what he does here, but I don't see Court making it. He's been around the minor league system. He's never played in the major leagues, and he's 28 years old, I believe.
Yeah, he's 28 now. Yeah, he's a utility infielder. Yeah, he does play occasionally in right field.
Has the highest OBP on the team. Has the highest pitches per appearance, 4.35, 3rd highest in the International League. 10 home runs, his most since 2013. So he's having a good season down here, and he's a utility player. I just don't see him making it in Boston, unfortunately.
I don't either. I mean, if the Red Sox were to give him the chance, I think there's a chance he would basically be able to do what Brock Holt is doing for you right now in Boston, which is okay.
But Ryan Court's a better outfielder than Brock Holt.
Yes.
Matt Dominguez, infielder, can kind of play all around as well. Another utility guy. Boston loves these utility players, man.
They do.
It makes no sense. There's no guys who are like pure at that position. So Matt Dominguez can play pretty much anywhere in that infield: 1st, 3rd base, 2nd base.
Yeah, if you recognize his name and you haven't heard us talk about him at all this year, he was with the Astros back when the Astros were really bad, like 4 years ago.
2012, 2014. He played for the Florida Marlins as well.
And he also played with the Blue Jays
last year. Last year. 362 career games, debuted September 6, 2011. So Dominguez has Major League experience. He's a fine player for Pawtucket, but he's a 4A player.
Yeah.
I don't know. Boston's tough. It's a good roster. Maybe in a place like Cincinnati, he'd make it. Moving on here, talking about Lin from Taiwan, came up from Portland. MLB Pipeline has him ranked 27th in baseball in the Red Sox prospect rankings. This guy skipped Pawtucket originally, went up to Boston, had a lot of success in Boston. But now he's played 28 games for Pawtucket, 233 batting average, 27 of 116, batting 205 in the last 19 games. I mean, I look at him. I look at Lin play, and I think he's a great player. He's a great guy. But I look at the way he plays, he tries. He's Brock Holt, but it's nothing special. It's nothing that's going to make you be like, wow. Like, that's my issue with him. I think that's why I said Marrero should be your call-up.
Yeah. I know earlier this year when he was up in Boston, everybody was lusting over him because he was playing so well.
He did. He played very well.
He played very well.
That's why you should potentially get a look again.
But right now, that's an outlier for him right now. He's not that great of a player. Obviously, things can change. If he does get, maybe next year he does have a chance, but
280 batting average, 14 of 50, 2 RBIs, 19 games with Boston. So he's going to get another opportunity at some point. I think it might be next year, especially if Boston moves on from a guy like Josh Rutledge, which they should. They should do. Devin Marrero, this is a guy who was his agent prior to the year, had a narrative or directive to Boston. You got to play this guy. And they did. He has had experience, 2017. Buck 57 batting average, 3 home runs, and 11 RBIs. Okay, there was your opportunity. Devin Moreau is a spectacular defender.
Yes.
He is a pleasure to watch, and I think Red Sox fans who watched him understood that. He has the capability of having some hot streaks on offense, but nothing more than a 230 hitter at the major league level, in my opinion. I do like Moreau's defense, and I think it should warrant something, but he's never going to be an everyday player at that level. It's going to have to take some kind of tweak mechanically at the plate. Something's going to have to click for him, and maybe it will. Maybe it'll click next year for him, but just don't see it happening right now. So we're going to talk about Hector Meneses. He's an infielder as well. He's from Venezuela. No Major League Baseball experience, but he's been a pretty good player down here. Last 22 games, batting .269. He had a 14-game hitting streak, which is the second longest active streak in the International League. I believe it ended yesterday, though. I'd have to check my game notes. But it's interesting. Meneses is. What's your thoughts of Hector?
Great defender.
He's a good defender. Yeah.
He's a really good defender.
Let me look at something.
Can't hit. Simple as that. You can't hit.
You can hit. Don't be a dick. You can hit.
All right, so
I believe you can hit.
all right, let's just put it this way: his OPS.
Oh no, he wasn't in the lineup last night, so he still has a 14-game hitting streak.
Yeah,
Awesome.
He can't get more than a single. He's not an extra base hit guy. That's all he's going to do. He's going to be able to hit singles for you, and he's a great defender.
Yeah, he had a whole.
I don't see him being having a chance to play Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you know, he's definitely a singles guy, but so is Lynn. So Boston loves those guys.
That's true.
Talk about Mike Miller. This guy's the man, actually. He's
Yeah.
from California. Great guy. Does a lot in the community here. He's won a couple awards for that. He can do everything, and he will do anything. He is Brock Holt on steroids. That's right. I said it. He's more of a utility player than Brock Holt. Want to know why? He actually pitches in baseball games. He's pitched multiple times for this Pawtucket team.
He is the Paw Sox extra pitcher. And he works hard at it, too. He's not the type
No,
of
he
player
tries,
that's
right.
going to try to go out there and air it out and, like, try to throw, like, 75 like how he normally would, like, on the diamond. No, he's out there throwing, like, 40 to try to screw with the hitters because he thinks, all right, well, a player's going to be used to hitting, you know, in the 90s. Somebody's going out there throwing 45. He's not going to be able to hit it.
And he does have Major League experience, Mike Miller does.
He does.
Yeah, he went 0 for 1 as a defensive replacement at second base. Last year, 6-27. I like Mike Miller, but he's one of those uber utility players down here in AAA. And I don't envision him being anything more than that, unfortunately. Jake Romanski, he's a catcher here, the backup catcher. No Major League experience as well. He's another one of those guys. You just don't envision him breaking through with Boston. You know, something can click, obviously, in the next couple of years, but...
Yeah, I mean, he was promoted up to Pawtucket from Portland earlier this year. He's been pretty good
August
defensively.
1st, he was transferred here. AAA debut on August 2nd.
I mean, he's been able to hit okay. He got off to a slow start, but better. Lately, it's been
Put it
better.
this way, he batted .233 in 120 plate appearances in 34 games with Portland this year. Not necessarily a hitter. Then again, you don't really find hitting catchers down here. So that's not really that big of a deal.
No,
Steve Selsky, he has Major League experience as well. He played for Cincinnati, the Reds, and then he played for the Boston Red Sox. 283, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs at the Major League level. Selsky's not had a good year here in Pawtucket.
I mean, he got off to a good start. He was pretty much on track to have as many home runs as
he was
Prince.
DFA'd on August 23rd.
Yep, that was
That was the other day.
that was to
Cleared waivers. He was here last night.
yeah, that was for
Oh my.
for the Rajay Davis acquisition. But it's really since the end of May, he's been going downhill.
Yeah.
He had his first home run here in a while on the last homestand. It's
Put into perspective, he struck out 30.1% of his time here in Pawtucket this year. That's the highest on the team. 30% of the time, this guy's striking out.
It feels like every night he's getting the golden sombrero.
He's listed as an outfielder here, but if you look online, he's listed as a third baseman. He can also play first base. Steve Selsky still has an opportunity, I believe, to make the Major League team. And it depends what happens.
He was a depth guy at Pawtucket when they signed him, but coming out of camp,
He's still a depth guy,
Yes.
but we'll see. He has had Major League experience. Moving on here, talk about Sean Havlin, the Harvard grad from Connecticut, from Farmington, Connecticut. 7 years with the Oakland organization. Now he's with the Red Sox, signed as a free agent in January. Drafted in 2008, he's been around the block. You know, he's a gritty veteran down here. He's been moderately successful in Pawtucket this season.
Yes.
Nothing that's going to jump off the page, but he's been here.
No, I mean, he did have the first, earlier this season, he did have the first complete game shutout by a Paul Sox pitcher in like 5 years or something like that.
Right.
I don't know the number, I don't really have the date, time difference in front of me. But if the Red Sox were to give him a chance at the major leagues, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, you know what?
You know, he's been on and off the DL as well.
That too. Here's a shot at the major leagues. Like, you're welcome.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, it's going to be one of those guys for sure. Talking about Williams Jerez, left-handed pitcher out of the bullpen, is from Brooklyn, New York. He's had a draft in 2011, 81st overall in the second round by Boston. This is a guy who made his AAA debut on August 1st, 2 shutout innings, 1 hit. He's promoted on August 1st from AA Portland. 4 months of the season in Portland, 29 appearances, 3.19 ERA, 51.1 innings pitched. I don't have much to say about him because I haven't seen him pitch here much in Pawtucket. But I think next year we'll get a good idea in terms of what Williams is doing and what he can do in Boston.
Yeah,
there's a potential. Yeah, he hasn't had enough experience here yet to really gauge him properly.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I might have seen him pitch once down
here.
He's
pitched a couple times. He last pitched on the 20th, 17th, 15th, 8th, and 4th. So he hasn't really been here much, but looking at the quick little recaps of his last 5 appearances, his last 3, he actually hasn't given up a run. He's only given up 1 hit in his last 3 appearances.
Yeah, he's definitely the type of guy that the Red Sox are going to be very highly on. I really wouldn't look at him seriously until like next year.
No,
see what he does.
They need bullpen options here, and he's going to be one of those bullpen options. Austin Maddox. Maddox has major league experience this season for Boston. He came up from AA Portland this year, and then now he's in Pawtucket. He's been all over the map out of that bullpen. He's had a lot of success in Boston actually this year. Only 3.2 innings pitched, but he hasn't given up any runs in that time. Austin Maddox is one of those guys who I envision being a potential call-up for September. I think he's still in the 40-man, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he is, too.
So Austin Maddox might be one of those guys in September they call up, especially if they need an arm. Too highly on. No. I just hit me.
Went out.
It went out. Well, we're still going. We're still on the line here. So Austin Maddox is a guy I like to. Moving on here. If this page ever flips. Almost towards the end here. We have to be almost at the end here. Oh, Kyle Martin. Kyle Martin got torched last night, and then he also got torched pretty much every other appearance as well. He got hit for 4 earned runs on the 20th, 2 earned runs on the 16th. So this was last night's stat. He pitched last night, so this is even worse. But in his previous 6 appearances, he had 10.2 innings, 17 hits, 7 earned runs.
Yeah.
He has not been good since he came back down from Boston whatsoever.
No, he hasn't. And the Red Sox were originally high on him, so was Paul Sox manager Kevin Bowles. He loves his fastball. He loves his breaking stuff. But really since then, since like mid-June, he has not been pitching as nearly as well as he was at the beginning of the year.
Put it this way, he had 11 appearances, 16.2 innings, 0.54 ERA this season before he went up to Boston. So Kyle Martin's one of those guys that probably when he got sent down, we saw a similar thing with Sam Travis where he kind of took a step back when he came back. So I think with Kyle Martin, it's going to be a similar situation with them. And next year, he might get an opportunity at the major league level because he does have major league stuff. Talking about Edgar Olmos. This is another guy that's a sneaky September call-up. Not on the 40-man, so you'd have to make room for him. But he's actually had a really good season here in Pawtucket. In fact, he's had such a good season in Pawtucket that he made the All-Star team.
He did.
He's done everything for them.
Yeah, since then he hasn't pitched as well since the All-Star break as he did beforehand.
No.
But before the All-Star break, the guy was nearly unhittable down here. He was pitching out of the bullpen, but he was also in the starting rotation for a little bit, and he was able to get outs effectively. Earlier this year, I believe he went 7 shutout innings in one of those games. It was the longest of his career.
The only issue with Edgar is that he has major league experience. 2013 with Miami, 2015 with Seattle, 5.21 ERA, 19 innings pitched, and 11 appearances at major league level. So the sample size he does have is not ideal, but he's pitched very well in the minor leagues across his entire career. And this year, as a whole, I'd consider as a step forward to him, and I think he's deserving of some kind of look in spring training. if it's with Boston or somebody else. Chandler Shepard out of Kentucky. He's ranked 23rd by Baseball America in the Red Sox organization, 26th on the MLB Pipeline. Sox Prospects has him at 24th in the system. He has an electric fastball.
Shepard's traded, hasn't
Chandler Shepard, no, he's still here on the roster.
he? I think so.
Thinking about the other guy that was traded for...
Reed.
No, Shepard's still on the roster, buddy. Right here. Chandler Shepard is right here, Evan. Why don't you look it up on the internet? But he's on the roster.
I know he is.
This is yesterday's roster, Evan.
I know he is.
Evan doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
That's fine, Evan. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine, Evan. Yeah, I like Shepard. He has an electric fastball, upper 90s. A lot of people have that, so we'll see what happens with him. He hasn't had a ton of success here. Carson Smith is on the roster, because this was yesterday's roster. And Carson Smith will be in Boston this season. We don't really need to talk about him, because he's going to be up there. Marcus Walden. It's only 5'10", which is actually pretty short for a pitcher. From Fresno, California. I like Walden.
I do too. He's the type of guy, he's that like uber utility long man that really any minor league team needs. The Paw Sox have two, Walden and Almost. Walden's one of them. He's got a great breaking ball. But other than that, like at least once a week, he has an outing where he gets blown up. Last weekend he had a game where he gave up, what was it, like 7 earned runs, like 2 1/3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's games he's had that he's been absolutely gotten blown up.
And just to confirm, Chandler Shepard is indeed on the roster. He's also right in back of us. You're not thinking of him.
Well, clearly I'm not. But
it is actually quite fascinating looking at Omos because, they've had a lot of, Brian Johnson has been picked up the roster, Hector Velasquez. So they've had a lot of rotation in that starting rotation where Kevin Bowles kind of had to deal with that, all that change. We talked about over 70 transactions. So you've had guys like Olamos. You've had guys like Walden's had to make a couple starts as well. So you've had these guys kind of flip around. And the fact that Olamos has had such a successful year as a whole, given all the adversity and all the changes he had to face, is actually quite fascinating. He was kicked out of the starting rotation because he wanted to get back into that relief role. But the way he's been able to deal with that change has been really interesting. You like to see that out of a baseball player.
You do. Yeah, you do. And he's been very successful for the this season for the Paw Sox. At one point this year, I was thinking the Red Sox might give him a shot. But due to his inconsistency, I don't see the Red Sox giving him a shot.
I don't envision that. You look at this roster in Pawtucket. A lot of these guys are actually down here on a one-year deal. A lot of them were guys who've been around. A lot of journeymen here in Pawtucket. And in AAA, you often get that. Like a guy like Bogusevic and all these other guys, they have major league experience because Boston wants to kind of stash them down there just in case something happens at the major league level, because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of those one-year contract guys. So next year, when we are back, you can see some changes on the roster for sure. Some big changes. But there'll be some guys who come back, and guys like Jalen Beeks is something to watch. Brian Johnson is currently down here, but we'll see what happens with him because I think he's going to get a major league look. And he has got a couple this season, but he's almost starting rotation worthy at this point as your fifth starter in Boston. So we'll see what happens with Brian Johnson.
You would imagine that the Red Sox would give him a shot next year.
Stephen Wright's and also guys trying to work his way back as well. So there's a lot of different things that are going to happen here in Pawtucket and in Boston. And I expect this flux in terms of Boston and Pawtucket continuing in terms of this transaction. So I don't see it stopping. I think Dombrowski likes to do that.
No, I completely agree. But the name that you just said, Jalen Beeks, he's a name you definitely want to watch out for. He doesn't have overpowering stuff, but he's able to get swing and miss stuff.
Yeah, he got lit up last night here. Every hit that was off of him was smoke. But he still had swing and miss stuff. He still has that capability, even when he doesn't have it. So we'll see. Jalen Beeks is the guy to watch out for. If you're looking for a starting pitcher on this team that could be a legit start in the major league level, Jalen Beeks is the guy I'm looking at right now. Moving on here, moving to Boston. Let's talk about Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts suffered. You want to pick up that paper, Evan, instead of kicking it around?
Kind of just holding on to it. So
yeah, I got it. Talk about a goose egg. You want to talk about something that's been a little odd. Bryce Brent went 0 for 4 last night here. And I think all 4 was ground outs or something like that. It was actually really odd.
All 6-4 putouts. 6-3 putouts.
Yeah. Insane. Just weird. Talking about Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts suffered a knee injury last night for the Boston Red Sox post-game. John Farrell didn't seem worried about it. Mookie didn't seem worried about it. David Price didn't seem worried about it, but we've seen Price not worrying about stuff in the past. But David Price. But Mookie Betts, same knee that he had surgery on. Hey, put him on the DL. Put him on the 10-day DL. And look, I don't even care if the injury is playable. Whatever. Why? Why worry about it? He's batting .263 this year.
They're playing the Yankees next week, Tanner.
Oh, boy. .263 batting average is really going to... Like, look, Mookie Betts can turn it on and be an MVP for one game. We've seen it this year. That's all it's been, though. It's only been these 1-2 game stretches where he's able to pull it back out. But as a whole, this season's been very disappointing for Mookie Betts. I know it's tough to follow up an MVP caliber season. He should have won the MVP. Mike Trout, better player, was on a shitty team. Mookie Betts was on a playoff team. Playoff team that got swept by the Cleveland Indians, but we don't talk about that. So Mookie Betts should go on the 10-day DL. And look, I love Mookie as a player. I do. I think he's a great guy. I think he makes all the right plays. In the field, he's awesome. But something's not clicking this year. Something needs to happen where he kind of has to just take a seat. And I think a 10-day DL stint is worth it. Because even if it's not working on that knee, getting it back to 100%, it's about taking time away from the game. Maybe that's what he needs, because something has to click. You can't follow up. Was it the pressure of following up that season? Because this isn't even close. This is not.
Maybe it's the type of thing where you had did with Andrew Benintendi, where you sat him for a couple of days at the end of July, beginning of August. Maybe Betts needs that. Maybe he needs to get away. And
he's still a young player, and that's what people kind of overlook a little bit.
Yes, he's only 24, I believe.
Yeah,
maybe 23.
But it's tough. But this guy has come to the point where I was going to pay him after last year. I was all in favor. Mookie Betts, pay him as much money as he wants, right? Because that's the kind of player he was. And I'm at the point now where I'm looking at it like him and even Xander Bogaerts. It's like these guys are supposed to be like your stars, right? Your star
and
power.
They had down years.
And they both had down years. And Andrew Benintendi, you saw him struggle hard, and then he came back with the strongest. And you look at Benintendi, and like his ceiling is not as high as Betts potentially could be, but he's going to be a better player over his career. Just looking at it, because Benintendi, you saw make the adjustments necessary. Betts hasn't done that, and that worries me. I don't know if it's Chili Davis. I don't know what's going on. Maybe Dustin Pedroia has to look at the tape. Maybe get PD in the locker room and have him look at Betts, but something's not right with Mookie. And if I'm Boston, I'm worried because these guys like Bogaerts and Betts, they're going to get paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you can't like it. You cannot like it because they're not consistent.
Yeah, and even looking in the short term, if you want any any sort of postseason success at all, you need to rely on those players.
Yeah, Mookie Betts is going to be – he still has that MVP flashes this year. You've seen it. He's helped you win a couple games like that. Just has not been consistent, and you need consistency. But, hey, Bryce Harper's going to get paid a stupid amount of money, and he's just as volatile. You'll have those games, too. You've seen Bryce Harper have really bad stretches. So it's not that big of a deal for Mookie Betts, but you have to be able to bounce back. You have to be able to show that you have that potential in you. Moving on here, talking about Chris Sale. Chris Sale got lit up for his worst start of the season last night. It's going to happen. But what worries me is looking at Chris Sale is it's happened against Cleveland. Like every time. His worst starts of the year.
And only Cleveland.
In only Cleveland. And the thing is, the way it looks right now, you're going to face the Cleveland Indians in the first round of the playoffs. And you have no pitchers with postseason success. And you can look at Chris Sale and be like, well, he pitched in Chicago. Okay. But his failures this year are against Cleveland. That is not good. I mean, you need to, if you're the Red Sox, you need to avoid facing Cleveland in all way possible. You have to do something. Because you did win the series.
I think there is a chance that you could overtake Houston for the number one seed in the
you have to.
There's a chance you could do that in the American League. But you almost have to try. I know his track record against the Indians in his career has not been good, especially since he was facing them maybe 3-4 times a year when he was with the White Sox. But you have to think, once you get to a postseason game, Chris Sale is psychotic enough where he's going to figure it out and be able to pitch it effectively. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking is, I know you really can't look at it just because it's Chris Sale and he is one of the few aces in this league. Maybe he's getting tired. Maybe you want to give him the extra day off.
He has a ton of mileage on him last year. believe he had an elbow problem at one point for Chicago, missing time with that. Could be getting tired, but
maybe you want to give him an extra day off.
I'm not really sold on that because his struggles have been against one team. I think one team just figured him out. Terry Francona is a smart guy. Indians team has some smart players. They made the World Series last year, and I think they're, in my opinion, the best team in the American League. Even if their record doesn't really say it, I think they are. They're better than you in Boston.
I think so too.
They have better players. You saw Francisco Lindor, a real infielder. Sorry, Xander Bogaerts, but you saw the way Lindor powered that ball out of the park. Xander Bogaerts doesn't do that. Doesn't come anywhere close.
No.
So, you look at Cleveland, and they're the team to beat, man. Houston, I'm sorry. I'm not really worried about you. Jose Altuve is a great player. He has some really good players on the team. Houston Astros aren't going to win a World Series, man. That's just the culture. I don't really want to speak to that, but, the players on that team don't scream winner to me.
They don't.
The way they complained, they bitched and moaned after they didn't get anybody at the deadline.
Yeah, not only
Get
that.
over yourself.
You also got to factor in the fact they haven't had their star shortstop in Carlos Correa for a while,
right?
Which has really caused them to go in this downward spiral. But even then, they're a very young team. How can you expect them to be able to have postseason success?
Right,
when
they are a young
postseason,
team.
It's a different ballgame.
Yeah, and that's the issue. They're not really built on veterans or have veteran players. And that worries me with if I'm a Houston fan, I'm looking at that team, and there's really no one that has a track record there. And that's the same thing with Boston, really, in that rotation. And even on the roster as a whole, who's really won a World Series on the Boston Red Sox roster? It's not a lot of guys here from 2013.
No.
The rotation has basically 0 wins in their career in the playoffs. There's a couple here and there, but not great records. And if you want to look at David Price's wins in the playoff, that one where they pulled a starter, I think it was Gibbons. He pulled the starter, inserted David Price, so Price would get recorded the win. Do you remember when that happened? A couple years in the playoffs?
When he was with the Blue Jays.
Right, when he was with Toronto. When he was with Toronto that 1 year where they traded for him. Gibbons pulled his starter, inserted Price, so Price would be credited with the win. So Price would get his playoff win. So get over the monkey off the back. So that's one of his playoff wins. Yeah, David, that's real impressive, buddy. I can do that too. And a lot of people can do that. Anybody down here in Pawtucket can get that one. So, David Price, ladies and gentlemen, is not going to pitch in Boston this year.
No.
Not going to happen. That window is closed. The door is shut for David Price. There's no rehab appearance down here in Pawtucket. There's no rehab appearance anywhere. So, he's done. And he's going to get Tommy John. I think it's a certain, actually, the Tommy John part.
Oh, I think so, too.
I said it in spring training. I believe I wrote a post titled, David Price needs Tommy John in spring training. He's actually had a good year, 3.82 ERA.
That's not bad.
Limited time, but he's had a good year for Boston, better than he had last year. But he's injured. Something's wrong. Hey, David, how do you feel compared to spring training? Oh, 1 out of 10. Oh, this is a 1. That's what he said. He said this injury was nothing like spring training, but he's still out. I think they should have got it a long time ago. Maybe he's trying to play out the contract. Maybe he's trying to get the Tommy John at the right moment so he doesn't have to ever be back in ball. I don't know. I really don't know. But if David Price gets Tommy John, I don't see him opting out. $130 million going to leave on the table. He doesn't like it here, but that guy took $30 million more in Boston on that contract over St. Louis. So it was about the money coming here.
Yeah.
So we'll see with that. We got Rajai Davis now in Boston. He played last night, came in for Mookie Betts after Betts left with an injury. Rajai Davis is a speedster. I like them getting a speedster, a guy who can steal bases. I didn't need Rajai Davis. I don't need that. I don't need the guy in the field. I don't need a guy who can hit a little bit. I could have got a guy that just doesn't do anything. Just speed. All we need is a runner. And I think they overpaid for him. I think Dombrowski kind of forced his hand there in that comment that he made, where he said that Jackie Bradley injury was the motivator for him. I think Davis will be fine here. I think you got too talented. You got too good of a player for that role.
You literally did. You're not going to be playing. I mean, Davis is good enough where you're confident enough if he's going to end up playing over an injured player between now and the end of the regular season. But other than that, like you said, he might be too good for that role. he's really not going to be able to come off the bench and be able to get that stolen base when you need him. Obviously, he'll be able to, but he's not going to be able to hit well just because he's going to be sitting so long. Because he's an everyday player. He's not a role guy that's be able to get that stolen base.
Right. So I think they overpaid here. You could have found someone else for free, basically. I think. No, not much in your organization. There's no one here at Pawtucket that's a base stealer. Trust, they're a slow team. They don't steal bases.
No.
So organizationally, someone dropped the ball there, but you can find these guys cheap. You can get guys like that. Can just go get like Quentin Berry again? I don't know. You didn't give up much for Rajay Davis. You gave up a prospect, an 18-year-old prospect. You have no idea who's going to pan out to be. Could pan out to be a superstar. Could pan out to be nothing. We don't know. So you go get the proven player, but the fact that you forced your hand, you let Jackie Bradley's injury be that motivating factor, that's not good. Not good business there for Dave Dombrowski, unfortunately.
No.
So I think that's it here. Yeah, that's it. That is it. Close the book. That's it for the Red Sox show here from McCoy Stadium. This was our last show. Once again, thank the Pawtucket Red Sox for having us here. It's been really great this season. We've had a lot of shows here this season. We look to be back next year. And maybe in a couple of years in a new ballpark, potentially.
In Worcester?
I don't know, man. I don't know. If you listen to some people, it could be Worcester.
It's my opinion. No basis behind it. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk, and that all it is, I think, is talk. A lot of people trying to force other people's hands. Won't mention names, won't mention anything like that. But I don't know. It's nice to be here at McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
It is.
So that's it. If you're looking for more Red Sox talk from us, Trifecta Sports Talk is once a week on Facebook Live. That's Evan and I, and we'll have Red Sox talk on there, especially with the playoffs, and it might even dominate at times. So it might feel like the Red Sox show, but we talk about Celtics on there, talk about Patriots on there. Want to know what we won't talk about on there?
I don't know. What is that, Tanner?
The Boston Bruins. And we're going to be talking about the Boston Bruins on a completely different show. Evan won't be on it, but I'll be on it. And there'll be 2 other hosts, and we'll launch that next week. It'll be a lad named Joseph and Justin Doyle. So J and T. No, it's called the 7th Floor Show. JJT, though, could be like the nickname. JJT.
I like it.
I like it, too. So that'll be launching next week after, something like that. So we'll let that know on here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching for the shows that we've done here, Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people have watched this show here from McCoy. It's a gorgeous view here today. So
yeah,
thanks for listening. Thanks, Evan. And if you are wondering what Evan was why he was mad, you know who you are.